Public hearing. The public hearing is on the property condemnation at 1025 First Avenue Northeast. Do we have any public comment in favor or opposed to this situation? Okay, hearing none. We just close the public hearing then, correct, Pat?
That'd be a good idea to have Shannon present a little information again, and just so you have something to add to the record.
Okay, Shannon, would you please give us just a brief background on what's taking place at this property and this address, and what's going to take place after this hearing?
We've given them much time to first sign off on it. They did not respond to that, so we went forward with the condemnation. We gave them notices of that also so that they could come to the meetings. They have shown no interest. So now I did a little research on what we can do with it. We'll talk about that later. But that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
And I think it could be added to the record that both Custer District Health as well as the city building inspector have voiced their opinions that the property should be condemned, removed.
That's correct. I know Custer Health can give their opinion several months ago, but the process just has taken a while, like these processes do. So, any other input or discussion on the condemnation property? Okay, we will close the public hearing, and at this time we'll call a meeting to order for the regular meeting. And you all please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you have the minutes from the April 15th and 22nd meetings. Is there any discussion on this? I would accept the motion to approve.
Motion to approve and suspend reading.
Here, motion by Hack.
Second.
Second by Pillar. Discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes from April 15 and 22nd, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Approval of the agenda. We do have an addition under 9D. We will add that's where we'll take action on the public hearing that we just had.
Make a motion to accept the agenda with the noted addition under 9D.
Motion by Pillar.
Second.
Second by Stern. All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 6A, street project, more engineering. John, come on up.
Great. Just want to give you guys a quick update on the street project. PCS and Mayo are back in town mobilizing today. PCS started some of their work, concrete stuff. Gonna get going on that, and then I'll be back out tomorrow morning to meet up with Mayo and kind of go through all those punch list items and get all that stuff taken care of. Ted said probably about a week, maybe a week and a half to get all the punch list stuff taken care of, and then that'll leave us with chip seal, which is anticipated somewhere in June or July. And that's just Aztec kind of as they move around to their different sites, they'll be in the area and come through and hit that. So I plan to be here tomorrow morning for the rest of the entire day if I need to go through and make sure everybody has a good understanding of what the punch list is, what it entails, and all that stuff. And then I'll be back to do the final inspection once they have completed and say everything's ready for final completion. And we'll do our last inspection there. So, and then the next item on that list is the manhole on 5th Street and 5th Street Northwest, 3rd Avenue Northwest. We did get We did solicit, bids, we handed out to 4 different contractors, only ended up getting 1 of the bids back. And if you want to just pass that around, there's a copy of the bid that we've received. Sorry.
Or not this one?
That
This one?
So are you guys familiar with the sewer issue that took place on Jeff? So this is to basically take and do all the work to put a brand new manhole in the area. The $6,200 is strictly for digging down and making the connections. The manhole itself is an additional price, but being that you guys are the city, you can make that purchase and not have to pay sales tax on it. So the actual purchase of the manhole sits around right around $3,200, and that's with shipping. So the total with all that's right around $10,000, and then you've got other patching costs and stuff like that on top. I would say by the time you guys get done and finished with all that stuff, you're looking anywhere from 10 to possibly 15 at the very, very high end to have that manhole completely installed and online.
John, does that hole where we have it cut out in the asphalt, is that gonna have to be bigger than it already is?
Do you know what the size is that you guys cut that?
I don't think we ever measured it.
I'd have to take a look at it. But yeah, I can verify that.
Cause that's a patch job that, obviously needs to be, can't be used the stuff we have, the mix we have here, that's gonna be.
Right, it'll end up being just the timing and stuff like it doesn't look like it's gonna work out to have Mayo patch that in.
It won't.
It doesn't look like it, no, unless they would have to get in there and get that manhole installed essentially this week to get that done, so. We may be looking at a little bit of a different route for the asphalt and that works.
Ted, question for you, I see Mayo's doing work on 200, alternate 200. Is that an overlay, mill and overlay? Where are they getting their asphalt from? Where's that plant gonna be at?
That plant will be set up in Riverdale.
Okay.
We're not looking, it'll be,
Later this,
yeah, later, so we could certainly come back in, if you're putting in that manhole, just fill it in with gravel, we can look at something then.
Yep.
Or whoever you're having doing it, because unfortunately, there's no mix anywhere close right now. Closest mix is about 100 miles away.
And that will include filling everything up with gravel all the way to the top, and having access in there so it's drivable until it's able to be patched. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Other than that, that's kind of a breakdown of what's gonna happen immediately. So, if there's any questions?
There had been some discussion on the chip seal that occurred at the end of the last season and some of the excess of gravel
Yes.
that all over the place. Is that part of any discussion on what's happening in the next couple of weeks, or did you guys have any further discussion on that while I was out?
As far as reusing the gravel?
Well, understanding why there seemed to be, after it was presumably cleaned up and everything like that, that there seemed to become quite a bit more.
So when they put those chip seals down, they'll spread the emulsion, and when they put those chips down, they actually put a heavier layer on than what's anticipated. And that allows it to basically have the bottom layer and everything bed into the emulsion, and then you have that excess on top.
Yep.
And then as you go through, you'll do a initial sweeping and sweep all that up. Granted, as you go over the chips, there are gonna be some chips that do come up. Snow removal, stuff like that is gonna scrape some of those chips off as well.
This isn't the first time we've had chip seal done within the city, and it just seemed like there was an excessive amount after it had been swept up and everything as part of the project. So I thought there had been some question as to why there seemed to be an excessive amount of rock left over after it had been swept and cleaned.
We talked about it, but we went around and looked at the streets, and it doesn't appear that it has come up. As far as the actual layer that we want to stick and protect the street, it doesn't appear that that it's like delaminating or anything like that. There are a few spots that Dave and I went around and did look at. It just, I don't know if it just didn't stick or what, but those are areas that are going to be addressed when they come back. But for the majority of the streets, all of them, they all look pretty good doing our drive through.
Some of it, they just put it down a little thicker when you're in town, because if you put it down too thin and people are pulling out and cranking the wheel, and you get those spots that peel loose, and you got that oil, so sometimes I like to put it down a little thicker, but it's just, like you're saying, it's the stuff that's not fully embedded into the chips. Those will roll off, and it's just part of the, sweeping that up the next thing.
Okay.
Part of the sweeping.
Yeah, I got a question, the bike path, the one that was, I guess, like paved, you know?
Yes,
Yeah. The surface of that seems kind of like rough, you know, is like normal?
what do you mean by rough? I'd have to take a look at it.
It's, I guess, pitted a lot, you know, but
Pitted?
yeah.
I'll take a look at it to see what it looks like. It could just be a result of using the wrap mix. Has a
Okay,
little bit grainier
okay,
appearance to it,
yeah,
but I'm assuming that's what it is. I'll drive over there and take a look while I'm here tomorrow.
okay.
John, so do we need to take action on this land steward's bid now, or do we? Okay, and then if we do take action, then kind of try to coordinate it, you know, for when we can get some asphalt from Riverdale, is that what
Yeah,
you'd recommend, or?
we can work with Mayo if you guys have mix in the area and we're able to get it from them, yeah. We'll have to talk with land stewards if you guys do approve it and just see what their schedule would be like to get it done.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of lead time to get the manhole constructed and have that built.
I did talk to Tim Schwartz today, who said he's never set a manhole. He said, but he'll probably, whoever does it, he'll probably watch and learn a little bit, but he said he goes, that's something that's a bit too tricky, doesn't want to mess it up. We don't want to be his guinea pig experiment. What are the wishes of the board on this bid proposal from land stewards?
Move to award it to, land stewards.
Okay, motion by Stern to award the installation to land stewards.
I'll second that.
Second by Pillar. Discussion.
So are they out of, I guess, like Bismarck or something?
Yeah,
Center.
And then you would give us the dimensions or wherever we need to order it from, and is that something you would order for us to get the?
We could, yeah. I'd have to see how that would work with them as far as the sales tax part of it worked, but yeah. We've already been in contact with Forterra, I gave them the dimensions when these guys were down there making their fix. So they have the dimensions of what it's going to take.
Okay.
So that's the pricing that they gave us for that exact.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Stern.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Anything else, John?
Well, next one. Maybe not tomorrow, give me a call.
You wanna do
Chad?
the add-on?
Oh.
Those additional areas?
I don't know if we want to talk about that right now, but there were some additional items that were brought up during our meeting.
Yeah, let's talk about this now.
Ted had just sent out an email stating what those were. I have to look at it to get the prices. But it has to do with like these settlement areas over here around some of the existing manholes. We talked about on 3rd, there's one on 8th, there's some settlement over near on 1st Southwest, right near the church, small areas. This one over here, I'd have to look at, let me grab my phone. Be easier to give you-
Ted, anything you want to talk about with what's happening, or
No, I just, I kind of wanted, because we're only here for this week and we're gonna.
did you happen to get a price on the alley by West
Yes.
River? Okay.
Just
Good.
concrete, not mixed, because like I said, our mix is, we can't compete with concrete price, we're hauling that mixing from 100 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work.
So, patching over here on 3rd, between 2nd and 3rd, that's basically filling in the lower area around that manhole. There'll be some milling that takes place around there, and putting mix in to level that out, so not such a big bump, is $1,780. And then same thing on the cul-de-sac over on 8th Avenue, and that one would be $2,148.
2148.
Correct, yep. And then removal of replacement curb and gutter on Divide, $574 for that section, 10-foot section. And then the edge mill of the transverse settlement over on First, right by the Catholic Church, that is $744. And then in regards to reuse of the chip seal for those parking lots, screening, to bring a screen in and screen all that stuff is a lot more expensive to have than having brand new chips brought in. So they didn't even have a price to do that because it didn't make sense to to screen the chips and spend more to do it that way.
We can haul the new chips in cheaper than what they want, just on, because they gotta bring that plant from Minnesota. So it would cost more for them just to bring it in and not even process it than it would for us just to have more chips hauled in. And we've got to haul the balance in for the 2019 portion anyways.
So they could have some.
So these areas, are these costs to the city?
Yes, those would be extras.
So these aren't issues, just clarifying for everybody that these aren't issues that were redone, that were done already and they have to be redone.
No, the stuff over here was never done. The stuff over on 8th, that area right there, that was, we put curb back in and the oversight of the asphalt in front of it, something that got missed. And so that area will be the extra part. And then the stuff down on First there is just, we have a big settlement area that we should address before we chip seal it.
And these would go on, Monty, these would go on the same project. Questions? So we're looking at like $4,800. 1780.
Over 5.
Little 5.
Not quite. Real close.
So when would we have to decide on doing this? Right away?
I
If we
would
want
say
to-
as soon as possible.
Do you guys want to go and see them firsthand, Casey and Jason and Dan?
Would be nice, but, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to.
Do you want a more in-depth explanation as to what some of these are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's a manhole right over here on 3rd Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And basically what is, there's a big depression around the manhole, big settlement area. So in order to fix that, they'll mill around the manhole to have a little bit of an edge. And then they'll take and they'll do an edge mill around all that. And by doing that, we'll be able to overlay that area or put mix in that area to level it off so it doesn't have such a big dip. And then that area is gonna get chip sealed once the chip sealers are here.
That's the one by Moses Park, right?
No, right back here.
Right over here. One of Moses Park that's what's getting fixed.
When you drive over this, you know it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's,
Okay,
one by Moses Park is being addressed.
okay.
by Dan
okay,
Seison's.
Okay,
The one over on 8th, so there's some settlement in the curb and gutter. We went through and fixed the curb and then we did the patch back into the curb and gutter. It was just oversight of going out to the street and filling in the asphalt. So it's basically the exact same thing that would happen over here on 3rd. You do the edge mill around and then you feather that back in and have your drainage across the street. The one over by the Catholic church, there's just a random big divot in the road. And then we would just mill that, patch it back in, so that's fixed before chip seal. And then there's a section of curb up there, portion of the pork chop on the valley gutter was pushed out. Rather than taking the pork chop out, we'll take the next section of curb out and fix it to match it. So that's what each one of those items are.
Okay. Thank you.
So the total for all, to add on to the project would be $5,246 without the chip, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's just for the first floor. And then you got that additional sidewalk by the hospital.
Oh, I missed that below there. There was that one below there, sorry.
Okay, and that's what the hospital would be paying for that.
When would they know that? You know, I mean,
I would say this week,
okay.
when I talked to the couple people there.
That was 5110 to extend
Okay.
that $5,110. In regards to the alley, like Ted said, it would be in concrete, be difficult for them to get their equipment in there to do it. And that's for basically just removing everything and putting the concrete back, so no like subgrade work, don't know really what's under there, what we would get into, nothing like that, or anything for base. Just the concrete with the rebar would be $70,460.
Okay. I don't think we, at this moment, we're gonna take action on the alley aspect of it. We need to talk about that and how that would be more assessed out, but, I think these first 1, 2, 3, 4 items for 5246. I think we can maybe make a decision on that now, but what would the board like to do?
Make a motion to accept those 4 projects to the tune of $5,246 for their votes.
Okay, motion by Pillar, second by Hack, discussion. Roll call.
Miller.
Aye.
Hack.
I,
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Ted, do you want me to have someone from the hospital call you directly about the sidewalk, or do you want us? We can get back to you, I can talk to John too, and
The only thing we got is if they want to do it, let us know right away so our concrete guys can get in there.
they're here now.
And then they need to get someone in to, I think they still got, is there sprinklers all along that street?
Mm-hmm.
They need to move them out of the way.
Okay,
I think the utilities, there's no utilities right behind the curb that I've seen. I mean, I saw I think West River and the electric company had.
Profiler's got a big box on the corner.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff going in and out of there, but as far as right behind, because if we're putting that sidewalk right behind the curb, I didn't see really any utilities in the way there yet, but I don't know where your TV line is and all that jazz, so.
okay, thank you. The alley aspect of 70,460 is a big ticket. If this isn't the repair to do on here, I don't know if we have areas cut out and patched that have been typically, historically bad, that just keep pitting out. And Dave, in the last 10 years, how many times have we patched those things?
Oh, every year, a couple times a year.
I don't know if I've seen a good spot in that alley.
There is no good spot to go off of. We put bag mix in, we put almost everything we've had in there, that just doesn't hold.
yeah, we might be just putting a Band-Aid on if we tried that. I don't know.
I guess the big question would be who pays for it and how that gets divided up. I know that all comes down to the special assessment board, that they would determine who has the most use or the most benefit of that stuff. I'd assume that the West River and the post office and mandate machinery would have a big chunk of that, but Pat, what are your thoughts on that?
I leave it up to special assessment
No.
board to figure out. I think a lot of residents of Hazen use that alley when they deposit their mail because of the way the pickup boxes that the mailbox
Mhm.
there. So it'd be a challenge for them to, it would be a challenge for you to determine the district after consultation with your engineers.
Yeah.
The other thing is we really don't know what utilities are in that alley. There's a lot.
We'll try, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's shallow right below there. I know there's a box halfway down, but
West River's got like 4 of the trunk lines go to that building because it's west. I mean.
Right on the east end there.
and if that alley is as soft as the rest of your street, people will be pretty nervous to get in there. I mean, just because if you feel it out, obviously there's a problem underneath there because it's so cracked and beat up and there's a lot of water. I don't think it really drain out of there. You get some puddles back there, or they pretty much just see through.
It does.
So that in a combination with a bunch of utilities in there, that could be kind of hairy,
When they were putting fiber, they dug a ground on
They have like
and they
a
showed their own.
conduit or anything in there.
One
They
other thing
found
before you make a decision, I would talk to Trevor
Shall I get that?
They broke it down.
West River.
Yeah.
Maybe some all the things that he does in his.
Sure.
So then I guess, why can't we, I pave this next time that we have a street project in town?
So is it good, could we?
As far as paving paving it.
Mhm.
You'd have to get I don't know if you'd call it a specialized machine, but the issue with it is trying to invert your crown and pave it. And the invert of the crown wouldn't, on a paver typically can't go that far to catch what we would need it to do. And to try and get in there, I believe it's 14 feet wide, if I remember correct. To try and get, I think the smallest of your screens go to 8.
Oh, that's, ours are 10.
Yours are 10.
You're gonna buy a special little paper. They make those little tiny
Mhm.
ones, but those are usually the guys who chase the big plants around doing.
Yeah,
Driveways.
driveways.
And we don't specialize in that type of stuff, so we don't have any.
Technically, it can be done. It's just getting the right equipment here and having the capacity.
So it could be done.
It would take a little bit more than just, I think, looking at the surface and seeing, how like Ted said, you could have, you don't know what you got underneath there. You could have huge issues you have to deal with, and wouldn't be good to go into it blindfolded and end up being a lot more than what it is.
So then the way that it is now, I mean, I think it drains in the middle, right?
No, there's not much.
So, I mean, why not just go flat then, the whole thing?
What's that?
On the whole then, alleyway, just make it flat?
Make it run to the east end of the west.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
there's
high point
a
in the
high
middle.
point in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as shedding it off, there's some curb and gutter in there, but it doesn't go the entire way, so putting an actual crown there's not probably your best interest. You have water everywhere. Inverting that crown is gonna be the best, and if you do an inverted crown, concrete's gonna be your best option for that, as far as material goes, in my opinion.
I think it'd be worth it if you had these guys go in there and shoot some grades and, kind of do a little better, more of a design, because, when you're trying to tie into that curb and gutter that goes down the sides, it's like this the whole way. No, I don't think we can guarantee that it would drain out of there, so maybe taking out that curb and gutter, the whole works, and then going, but when you're trying to tie into that and things, you got the building walls right beside it too.
A lot of variables.
Yeah, and I know that the alleyway behind the bank, the drugstore, Home Connection. I've already been approached by the bank lady and she's hard to deal with. And
She is.
I know they want that redone too because water just sits there too.
I built back to that one day, and there was some pretty,
Yeah,
areas.
and actually Home Connections and the bank know that would be, a lot of that cost would be on them. Which they said, fine, we just want the water out. Sure. But maybe we need to look at both of those. I don't know. But at this time, we're not ready. Like Pat said, we need to visit Troy Schilling at West River, the manager, and see what his thoughts are and how maybe they want to proceed a different route. I don't know. I know putting, just crushed asphalt and gravel in is not going to work either. But, okay, that's all we have, I think, for now.
Anything else?
Did we we took action on the other issues. So, thanks.
That's good.
6C, Southwest Water Transfer Service Agreement Discussion Update. Mr. Donovan, please bring us up to speed a little bit. Can you give us a little history on what's taking place and where the authority with Southwest Water lies and what, we're one of 3 cities in the state that haven't signed that service contract. I know, yeah.
Well, in 2013, the legislature created some legislation as a result of the oil impact in western North Dakota, really. Now, these water districts like Southwest Water have agreements with the State Water Commission for repayment of construction loans. They also depend on the revenue from the sale of water for Southwest Water purposes. So they got the legislature to create this legislation that requires that if a city, first of all, you have to define your service territory. So, like the city of Hazen, initially they proposed our boundaries as established in 2010. They later revised, although they said they weren't gonna change their agreements, they did do this revision. They said they would revise the boundaries to our 2016 boundaries. And that's when we were first contacted about entering into this transfer of service agreement. This is completely different than our agreement for them providing us water that we sell to our residents as our, the replacement of our well water. The transfer of service was designed to limit cities from expanding their territory, taking away customers from these water districts, when the water district had maybe already constructed infrastructure out in the rural areas and sized it to accommodate a certain number of customers or whatever. And then all of a sudden the city annexes this area and provides water through their own system. So they were successful in getting that legislation. And since 2016, we've basically been on and off again negotiating with Southwest Water. The agreement that they proposed, this supposed one size fits all, was initially objected to by a lot of the smaller towns in western North Dakota. And they were successful in getting a few revisions to the agreement, but not ones that satisfied, I guess just satisfied me and you folks that I visited with on the commission at that time. Our intention since 2016 was if we annex, to require a developer of that annexation to deal directly with Southwest Water, because it was going to be too expensive for the city to extend our services to those annexed areas. And as a result, we've never entered into this agreement. They've made many threats to us and so on, but I consider them pretty empty threats, because we can still annex, but then we have a limited time period to, I think it's 60 days to come up with a water service plan and agreement with the district that's serving us, which is Southwest Water, as to who would serve the area. And under the proposed agreement, the costs were quite excessive, I thought, compared to what a typical rural customer would pay for the same service. In fact, I think in 2017, they estimated their construction cost at about $10,000 per mile for their pipeline to service. And we just, because of the Meisner situation, got that estimate of about, what, 25,000 for a few hundred feet extension. And so anyway, the whole agreement was designed to replace revenue that they probably couldn't even justify that they were losing, because like in a city like ours, they're providing us water anyway, so we charge them for Southwest Water. They may have lost some construction revenue if in fact they had built a pipeline and sized it to serve additional customers. We just haven't had that issue, so really saw no need to enter into that agreement. So that's where we stand today. They really can't force us to do that until we do annex. Then we will have to enter an agreement. If we can't come to an agreement, it goes to mediation through the state mediation, and I'm not sure who the party is there. It's somebody assigned to us. And eventually there would be an agreement that would have to be entered into. The biggest issue though was economics. It was, you know, we don't have a way of right now of collecting that revenue up front, and that's what they wanted. So our other taxpayers would be supporting that through either our reserves in a utility fund or from the general fund or somewhere else. And didn't seem fair. In addition, water use is getting more and more complicated. And when this new legislation came in 2013, there was already legislation on the books in a different set of our statutes that told cities you could sell water outside of your city to other customers. And in fact, it was prefaced with something about, despite any other laws to the contrary, you could do this. And that didn't seem to be a player in this agreement that was sent out to us, because now all of a sudden it was a heavy-handed, you will enter into this because the State Water Commission wants repayment of their construction loans, and we want payment for our lost revenue. And the other thing they didn't consider is, what if we have our own water projects that we've already had loans for and paying for infrastructure leading to where we may extend that, and how that would be impacted if we had loans or bonds out there. So there's just some things that were not really decided upon. And I think most cities just felt pressured into entering into those agreements and did so. It pleased them over there supporting water district was.
So in our current scenario, Pat, if Mr. Meisner were to enter into an agreement, because he's not part of the city at this particular point in time, with Southwest Water, they take care of all the expenses, get tied in to that system. Then if Hazen were to say we're going to annex this land into the city, what are the consequences at that point?
Well, that's when it becomes more severe, actually. If we provide money and we discontinue a customer, there are more fees attached to that than there are for just extending our service to a new customer. At the present time, we only have one Southwest Water customer within our city limits. I think even as defined by 2016, is that right, Matt? So that customer would discontinue, would be subject to the same.
So Mr. Meisner would be obligated to then, if we annex him into the cities, discontinue that feed, and then the city, we would have to connect up through our infrastructure? Or could he continue to just have that relationship water-wise?
Well, Southwest won't let us serve him without us signing an agreement.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering, can he continue to get that service directly from Southwest Water
If
You
we
said-
annex them?
if we annex him into the city?
Well, presumably he could, but we would still be forced to enter into that agreement there, because we are annexing somebody new served by Southwest Water.
Within their territory. But we're not taking them away from
Doesn't matter.
Southwest
Yeah.
Water.
And the feasibility of where Southwest Water's line is located compared to where our water lines are, it's a fraction of the cost to add him on from our line versus going separate.
Well, unless their costs are still only $10,000 a month.
So the reason why we obviously have Pat talk about this is because of the Meisner property and what to do with, I would love to, have Josh be able to build there. We've got a building permit on the agenda also. Josh has no issue with being annexed into the city limits, and I think that's where we need to go. I think he's receiving all the services of the city. I think it's too bad it can't be a little less complicated with Southwest Water than it already is.
Did I read it correctly, Pat, that regardless of whether we have signed this contract or not, that statute out there would still govern how it all takes place? Meaning that the legislature passed that statute, and whether we sign a contract or not, we are still obligated to abide by that particular statute that indicates that we can't
Well,
bring them into the city and basically
it's a series of
add them into our
statutes, and they they would require us to enter into the agreement. Now, we can make an agreement with Southwest Water, or we would provide the service. We would still be subject to this water use agreement. And we would still pay them the fees under that agreement that they require, because they would claim then they're losing a customer that they could serve. But according to our engineers, from what the emails that I saw, Southwest Water wants to serve it. They would rather serve him. If you read your, to the bottom of that email from the engineer, they would like to retain or have the ability to serve him instead of us serving him. So, I mean, personally, I guess that's between him and, we can force connections within certain distances of city services. I don't know if that proposed building meets the proximity requirements. I don't think
He's still outside of proximity requirements.
it would.
It would be outside of the proximity.
Oh, it would be outside, so he wouldn't be forced under our current ordinances to obtain our services. It may very well turn out to be less expensive for him to get Southwest Water directly from Southwest Water than from the city. And that's really something he should be looking into, not us. So the annexation is what your focus is.
Sure.
And that's, you're right, it's complicated because it does mean that then we have to enter into an agreement of some sort.
Casey?
Well, I mean, I think we should just, I guess, start the process. So this is gonna have to, I guess, get, I guess, like worked out, I mean, down the road, so. And
Start the annexation process?
yeah, and then after that, then I guess trigger, I guess, Southwest Water, to then make a deal with us, or else then it would go to a mediation, right?
Well, if you, when you read that entire string of emails that took place between Jack Dwyer, the attorney for Southwest Water, and myself, you'll see that we're not likely to get any concessions from them.
No, we're not.
This is gonna be that's a one-way agreement. I mean, it favors them. And the numbers will change from what that proposed agreement was because they're based on annual reviews of their past consumption, current pricing, and since 2016, they've gone up every year in their costs in terms of the construction and consumption, so those figures will change.
Yeah, please.
One of the biggest concerns is collecting those fees up front. So we would have to change our ordinances. So if anybody's developing, those fees are part of their building permit, they're paid up front, then we just forward them on to Southwest Water. Would be one option in the agreement, or how we set up our agreement.
Because right now, once they look up, I think we have 6 months, or is that the discontinuance? And one of those, we're really have a short window to pay the fees. So it would be best for us to collect the fees up front. It's easier to do with a developer than it is with a single unit, a single person like this. It's putting up one structure, two structures, whatever.
Well, I guess I find it hard to believe that they could service him easier than we could. I understand they want to, and I if it's gonna be less expensive for Josh Meisner to hook up direct with Southwest and let them service them, great. I don't want to force them into something that, that's gonna be more expensive in the long run, we make him do it. So I wanna just go the least route of least resistance and what's gonna make sense, and I don't know what that is. It's so damn,
But what I
Confusing.
heard Pat say is that if Mr. Meisner decided to go directly with Southwest Water, but then the city subsequently decides to annex that in, then it gets all murky.
It's
Well,
pretty much a double-edged sword,
yes.
either way it goes.
It's not necessarily murky.
Does the fact that our ordinance allows for an alternate water source for a specific period of time make a difference in these agreements? Because like we've done with the other person served by Southwest Water, he has a permit to get an alternate water source through Southwest Water for a fixed period of time, which I believe was 15 years. And then it's revisited by the commission and Southwest Water. Would that make a difference in this situation?
Not if you annex.
Not if you annex.
It's-
Since this one was already in,
They're two separate issues, the annexation and wherever he gets his water. He gets his water wherever he wants to pay for it, except that if we annex him and provide him a service, then we have to go to that agreement. Their pipeline, I think this is the map they sent out to us, it's small, but his, is down, he's down here, and this is the pipeline for Southwest Water. So they're like almost 2 miles away from them. And this is our only resident that's getting their service. Up here.
so, and if he tapped into us, he would just bore underneath the creek, right, to be several hundred feet instead of,
I think he's about a half mile from their north-south line.
Is it only?
it's a
Oh,
half
yeah, there's
section.
probably a section, and stuff like that, okay, yeah.
You know, and too, I guess I'd say, you know, might as well annex in other properties too that are already, you know, that are already built, I guess, of structures, you know, here in town, you know, it's not in any city limits, so.
Which ones are you?
Now, there's a garage that's back by the hospital, you know, that's. And it's alley.
Axman's old house.
Yeah, yeah. And then the storage list units south of the library, let's say.
I think everything south of railroad tracks.
Everything,
Other than the other days.
yeah.
Or most of them down there, yeah, I mean, certainly they use city services.
Right, but the services they don't get are snow removal, street cleaning. Are they gonna want snow removal, and are we gonna provide that for the elevator and the storage units? I don't know if we wanna start,
They're on their sewer either.
Brian,
Nope, there's nothing south of the railroad track for
That we
infrastructure.
serve.
for infrastructure.
I do have a question though. And I didn't see your map. What was the tie-in with Southwest Water? Where would they serve Southwest Water from?
Come about a
to-
quarter mile straight west of Josh's.
Here's their pipeline.
So he's coming out because where our water tower is fed, that comes in from the west straight.
Yeah.
And that would be either
Here, tower,
here or there is the
It goes
closest
right over by my
southwest
No.
pipeline that they can tie into. My question for the city is the city's responsibility is from the curb stop back. So are we gonna put his curb stop on the edge of town, west of Krause's, or, you know, right south of the, he's gonna be responsible for, you're gonna bore in 1 inch poly?
We're not.
Well, I mean,
not right
if
now.
they do,
Yeah.
You know, and then you do annex him in, where does the city's responsibility lie? If he's got a curb stop in his yard, now is Southwest Water responsible to bore all that through there? Because I can't imagine that option is gonna be even, I mean, insurmountable, feasible.
Well, and my understanding is Southwest Water provides it to the property, so basically they would
That
go
would
from
be
their line to where his property.
Their line through our easements and everything, whichever way it would come from.
Right.
That's all I wanted to know, is it,
Sure.
now we're responsible for,
Yeah.
you know, a half
Not
mile
the
of water
clear
line that we have no control over.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's,
I just wondered if that, because you get, coming from our water tower, you get up in North Star and coming down Fayette and all that is a easement nightmare with West River, with power, with
so they would come,
everything.
there's Josh's here.
Yep.
So they'd come straight from right here.
And I mean, if that's,
Yeah.
I just don't want the city to hear in 20 years, like, nope, that's yours, and now we're responsible for it. That was my concern.
Mhm.
Well, I know we've got several items that we're discussing here. What do you advise us to do, Pat? That's what we pay you for.
Well, I don't create policy.
No, we don't want a policy.
That's
Just
what you get elected for.
Shannon, you have a question?
Explain to the legal.
Why don't we let Josh check into getting Southwest Water and to see if it's even feasible for them and how much it would cost him? You know, maybe it is so much a mile, or I guess I don't know how it works out in the country, but maybe it wouldn't be that bad for him to get it straight from them. And then we wouldn't have to annex them, and then they wouldn't mess with our,
Oh, but I'd still wanna,
you still want it.
well, yeah, I mean, you know,
But then
We good.
we'll have to get an agreement.
well, it's gonna have to come
Yeah,
later,
that's-
so.
I think it's gonna have to happen ultimately. Yeah, like Southwest Stars, we're one of 3 communities in the state that don't have an agreement. Is it a strong arm situation? Maybe somewhat, but it's one of those things that you just, fact of life. And like Casey's saying, we've got a few chunks of property that we could be collecting taxes from for our community that are basically in our community, so why are we not using that? So I do understand that point. I do think it's a little sticky when you come to snow removal and all the services of the community. But those are things I guess we have to work out. So maybe that's a good idea, Shannon. Maybe we let Josh contact Southwest Water, see if he would get it cheaper through them. I don't know what it would cost to bore from our lines. Was it like $30 a foot?
The
John?
estimate was 20,000 for water.
20,000 for water. That's right, 20,000 for water.
26.
Yeah,
And that was that was just the construction costs. That was without any legal engineering or any other costs.
Yeah.
included.
if he pays them all, it's no big deal. If we have to assess it and try to do it over time, then we have all these other, even more costs, the bonding and all of that.
Yeah, you can have $40,000. I mean,
Yes.
You may turn around and sell this land.
Well, he's already sold his house. How do we proceed with Mr. Meisner, and after, we'll contact him, what should we?
Well, if you want, I can prepare the annexation stuff for the next meeting.
Okay.
Get it all over.
Why don't you do that, and then if we want to, Shannon, if you want to contact Josh tomorrow or Monty, and let him know, I kind of thought he was going to be here tonight. I was hoping he would.
And tell him what.
Tell him it might be cheaper
I was
for,
gonna say, he should contact Southwest Water.
yeah,
Check his options with him.
yeah. We definitely want, I'm willing to help out, or not help out, but if it's cheaper to go from our lines, that's, I need that, I need an easy answer.
Well, whatever, if you decide to go that route, I do recommend that you modify your ordinances to require all fees for those connections or disconnections
Upfront.
be paid upfront. Or there be some sort of security for a disconnect fee, and I don't know how you're gonna do that, but
Mhm.
for the connect fee, that you could certainly require upfront.
Okay. And how should we proceed, Pat, then with the transfer of service agreement? Do you think we should still hold off on that until this is resolved, or should we move forward with the transfer of service agreement?
Well, if your decision is that you're going to annex and begin an annexation process, then we're gonna have to resume negotiations, even if they're futile.
Okay.
And enter an agreement.
Because I don't think going into mediation is the answer, that's just legal fees and dragging it out, and ultimately is that what that,
That's not likely the result, them modifying their views on anything.
Right.
Because they keep saying, well, we can't change it, and that requires State Water Commission, and we've got all these other agreements already signed, now that's gonna make them all angry.
well, yeah, they're not gonna change for us and have every other city in the state we want the Hazen agreement, not, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Okay, well, then, do you contact Southwest Water or else Dwyer Law Office then to
I can.
resume that?
I think once you decide that you're going to begin annexation, I can contact the Dwyer office.
Okay. Monty's gonna start and have the paperwork for the next meeting to start that process, so. Suppose we should, yeah, in case.
Why don't we just, let them, I guess, come to us, you know? I mean,
They sent us a letter on January 31st of 18, asking us if we wanted, so I'm not sure if that's a quarterly letter that they send out or what it is, but
Periodic, I think that might have been the most recent one, though. I think they realized that we were pretty headstrong ourselves.
I mean, it's like, let's say that they don't even wanna deal with this, you know, and it just gets, you know, I guess, blown over.
I think we better let's just contact them and resume discussions and
If you approve the annexation at the next meeting.
if we approve the annexation. Yeah. And remind us, what's the difference if Josh Meisner comes and says, I want to be annexed, or if we start the petition, there's a different process, correct?
Well, yeah,
Not a
it
lot.
simplifies the process.
If
If a sole owner of property wants, and all of his property is the only property to be annexed.
Our biggest thing, Jerry, was those little parcels that were sold off south of the creek. It would be nice to annex them right away as well, rather than leaving that little strip
Yep.
out of the city limits. So
Yep.
basically, it would be better if we started the process. They
Okay.
have the chance to protest out if they get 75% of the
Okay.
property owner, or property area. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it would actually, Josh controls it because he has so much more acreage than they do, so.
So we should probably start the process ourselves.
I think if we want to do everything.
Yep.
yes.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts, questions? All right, I think we kind of know where we're going from there then. All right, moving on to the agenda, 7A, property concerns by Mr. Carlisle.
First of all, just kind of give you an overlook of what's happened in the last 12 to 14 months. Last summer, on our Fayette property, we had a leak at one of the spigots. And because those lots were privately developed, there was no curb stops put there. So the city, when we let the city know that there was a leak at one of the spigots, they said, well, we'll go ahead and put in curb stops, you know, at the city's expense and that at that time. So we allowed them to go ahead, dig up.
When was
those
that?
lots.
When was that?
It was probably about
Not
this
long
time of
after-
year, last year, we
May
had
of
the
last
garden
year.
in.
May of last year, I think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
May to June. So they had land stewards do the contract work, dug up those two lots to get curb stops put in. They did a fairly decent job as far as reclaiming the work that they did, other than, you know, one of the areas they had to leave a fairly large mound of dirt there simply because they figured it was gonna settle. Then by August, you know, by that time I figured everything had settled, that was gonna settle. I contacted the city about getting that graded off and was told that, you know, land stewards, that was between me and land stewards, or if I wanted land stewards, the city wasn't billed for doing any of that. So I basically ended up having to re-landscape that area on my own. Luckily, I was able to get a friend that had a box blade on a tractor that graded it off for me. I ended up raking it out myself and got some seed from the city, not enough to literally do enough to get grass to grow. You know, we were hoping that we'd get some grass before winter.
Are we talking like a 20 by 20 area, size of this room?
Look at the picture.
I can't tell what,
It's huge.
Okay. Well, there's 2.5 trailer house lots there. This area right here was our garden. As you can see, about 2/3 of the garden is destroyed. It's all clay. All
is
of
this
this.
last, from last?
This is from this year.
Okay, that's
Okay.
5/6/19.
This was all basically reclaimed from last year, and that, you know, this year is where, you know, we had, you know, there was a break this year at one of those curb stops. And they ended up having to come in March, dig that up. They did a temporary fix because they didn't have the right poly. So they left an open hole there until now, when it dried up enough to where they could get in and basically fix it right and then try to clean up the mess. Well, all of the wet clay that they dug out of that hole was basically put onto the garden area. And you know, and getting that cleaned off, you know, it basically, the city said that they did haul some of the clay away, but if you walk back there, this is rock hard. There's no way that grass is gonna grow in this. This is pretty much, in my opinion, this is all clay. Back over in here, they actually, or over here actually, they backed into the Elbowwoods property with a backhoe, so there's wheel tracks into the good grass that I'm gonna have to try to repair, and that, but just look, you know, I want it put back into a, you know, reclaimed to where it was before, to where there's soil there that grass will grow in.
And a garden.
You know, yeah, and the garden.
There's
No.
huge difference in it.
I mean,
spots
there's
you
wheel
can-
tracks, you know, some of these wheel tracks are that deep. You know, and if, yeah, I mean,
So
even
what
if
was,
you're in
what
here.
was the original agreement with the land stewards folks when they came in to do the initial sequence of repairs and stuff? Was part of their agreement to reclaim, or who was that all
That
coordinated
was
with?
all with the city. It was on the city's dime that they were going to, do that. And, like I said, they did a fairly decent job, other than in the one area, in that, but, that area.
The city did a decent job in that one area?
Land stewards.
Land stewards, okay.
They did a fairly decent job as far as getting it leveled out, other than in the one area, in that, but, in their digging, I mean, they came in with a track hoe. This guy this year came in with an extended backhoe tractor. When land stewards are at, they had a track hoe there, and they didn't destroy, half of it. They took out 2 feet of my garden, when these guys dug, they literally took all that soupy clay and just dumped it, wherever it was convenient. Sad part is, I wasn't around, I was working, when all the work's done. And that, I contacted them on Thursday when they finished, and I asked them about, whether they were done as far as being, landscaping and all that. And from what Ole told me, was that his guys told him that they were done. So then I contacted the city, on Thursday and spoke with Dick. And according to his opinion, from what I gathered, that the city was done. They said they hauled in some, what fill that they did have, to fill in the low spot over at the other curb stop, because all the water basically from that first curb stop ran all the way down, and we have standing water in there. That's where that fill is, right there in the front of the screen. There was a low spot there where by the other curb stop that had sunk down, so they put some fill in there. That's the only black dirt I think we've got for good topsoil. Otherwise, the rest of it is, pretty much all hard clay. It's hard as a rock.
So can you tell us, you mentioned Ole, so
He's from,
Ole's not land stewards though?
no.
So
Who they hired
remind
this year
Dave, that's why we
was
did,
Sletton.
so we use Ole after the fact instead of land stewards to finish it
They
off?
weren't available at the time.
They were doing a project up on the North Dakota Canadian border, and I contacted Neil, who's LSI. And I said, we gotta get it fixed. I said, when you have water running down your street when it's 15 below zero, it's obviously something's wrong. And we tracked it back to, found a connection with Myers, farthest north curb stop. And we called the contractor and said, we have to fix it. This is, it's an emergency. And Sletton Excavating was available. They had his rubber tire was overdue, and he said, don't, I'll be there in the morning. They dug it up. Well, frost is down 9 feet, and that had been leaking.
We don't know. I mean, there was a sinkhole that was probably this big, and I walked back and forth to my shop back there almost every night. And because it was under the snowpack, you had no idea until the city found it running over, the curb 3 houses down.
Sletton dug it up, and they got it repaired, and they got the leak stopped. And he said it was so cold, then you can't put wet clay, let alone wet dirt back in the water. It'll never come back, you'll never get it back. So we hauled out some of that stuff before it did freeze, and he did leave a mound there. He said that was the best of the worst. You know, I mean, you
Yeah,
still have to, you,
You know, the
doesn't
stuff
matter,
that
you
he
dig a
dug
hole,
out
you'll-
of that hole and put onto the garden in
you'll
that
never
area
get
there,
back.
you know,
Here the other day, he actually came because it was dry, and Myron contacted us a couple times, he said, you gotta try and get that hole filled in, it wasn't very deep. That hole he had left. And everything was rounded edges, and I took, what's it, GMC, going 4-5 yards out to the wet clay, and we brought 5 yards of good dry dirt back in, so that'll actually compact. It'd be nice, and Ole said, he goes, I'd be willing, he goes, I'm gonna bring a dump truck and roll the black dirt and my skidder up there and try and feather that out, because it was still wet. You know, when we took our skidder up there, and he said it's gonna be, you do more damage than good.
Yeah, if it's wet, you're gonna just.
Yep.
tear
But
it.
it's
There's
still-
nothing you can do.
Still wet last this past Thursday.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can still step on it. He said the front tires of the, you know, dump truck, they sunk in there, there's nothing you can do. That ground was so saturated, all the way down, that ran from, he's what, 1, 2, 3 up from the corner of, Antelope. That water was running down Antelope and making it to the baseball diamond from that. I mean, that, in the, you know, in the winter, it was cold.
but where do we go from here? I mean, that's my
That's
concern.
my garden. I mean, how do I plant my garden? I can't.
Like right now, I mean, that
Those
top area,
divots that you
that
see in
dirt
the
is
back,
just rock hard. I mean,
they're at least that deep. I mean, it's just, it's horrid.
But it's still wet. You want us to bring more dirt in and black dirt and just bringing in fill dirt, we're leaving roots this deep. You can't finish or do anything until it's dry. That ground
can't
is so
irrigate.
saturated.
Right.
And it, I mean, the soil up in that whole area, it is not the greatest to begin with.
So,
Yeah.
Jerry,
Yeah, Jason,
I got a question, Marvin. You mentioned back the first leak. You mentioned that we, the city, put in curb stops.
yep,
Did we ask you if you wanted a couple different options?
No. We've got no
No.
conversation.
if you go back to where you see the garden. Right here.
No.
Well,
Going-
you can see it here. There's a stake right there. That's where the spigot for that lot is, where the water line is, and that's where the original leak was. Yeah, right there.
And I mean, I literally found it because I was walking out there and it's like, this is much.
So, we just said, no, we're gonna put curb stops in. We didn't give you any options as to a curb stop or anything else.
Yeah, from my understanding, the only, option was to, put curb stops in so that, those lots had,
Yeah, because they did, a lot of them, with trailers, they never had curb stops, and there's still a few that don't. So your only two options, you put a curb stop in, or you dig down to the main and use Captain Court.
And who chose to put curb stops?
that was the only option that we had at that time. My understanding was to have curb stops.
Sounds
put in.
like we had an option to curb stop or to terminate the line.
I was
No one talked to us about it.
talked to us about just capping the line.
Who talked with, that you were gonna build on the back, or bring in a modular, or. That's how you wanted that.
at some point in time.
No, I know, but we
You know,
talked about
I-
that.
I had turned around and said that, as far as those spigots, I was probably never gonna use them, and that if I did do anything in the future, that I would possibly, when we got old enough to where we couldn't walk the steps and that, we put a main floor type home on those 2.5 lots back there, just
I know,
thinking thinking
talked to
of
him, I
you.
said, rather than dig a hole here, and then in, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then now we dig another hole here, we just dig 2 holes. It's cheaper for the city, because now we initially, it's a contractor one time instead of doing it twice.
Right.
And that's why we did it,
Yeah,
and
that's
fun,
kinda
guys, that'd be nice to have a curb stop. Now you have it there, so then if you ever do decide to sell your house and put a modular or whatever, connect to your garage, then at least you have that option.
So I guess all that I hear is that you just want that with black dirt again, and
I want it back
You
to
see
where I can, have it graded up back to the point where I can get grass to grow back there again. Again, the garden area, because of all the clay and everything that was put on that, I mean, that needs to get scraped off. There's, and soil's gonna need to get put in there just.
So how much clay do you think would need to be taken out of your garden area?
Well, that whole area.
Like 6 inches deep, or, I thought I heard someone say that the Ole or LSI would be willing to bring some black dirt in.
Only say you bring a dump
Only-
truck
okay.
of black dirt and you skidder up.
But not
Once it
not
dries
gonna
up,
drive in there while it's mushy and wet.
Because even with the skid steer, you can back drag it and make it, decently level.
Mhm.
It's not gonna be a putty green, but
Yeah.
anytime you dig a hole, and LSI, when they started fishing, especially that one to the south, that was a big
yeah.
hole, and he didn't have to do that.
So what you're saying is if we was to go in there right now, we'd create more damage to the current.
You drive in there with a skidder, you're gonna tear it up. That rubber tire loader that sled has, about as gentle as it comes. As far as equipment goes, you go in there in a skidder, that short little wheelbase, and you start turning, and now you gotta try and get it back into the side, now you're gonna be deeper into his yard. And you're gonna tear it up.
Does anybody have like a tractor with a box plate on it that you can? Cause that's basically how we ended up doing it last year, when we cut off that.
Casey did that for you, right? Casey
Casey,
last week, I mean, he's got that little board or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's
I mean, that's
smaller job,
a little.
We don't have a machine like that.
Shannon, I got a question. That utility easement, can you tell me what the footage is? Even though these folks,
Both sides.
cause there's electrical boxes on either side you can visibly see. I didn't know for sure.
That's where the meters for those lots would be,
Yeah.
but that's not part of the easement.
I didn't know the easement distance, I guess.
Cause there's a fiber trunk line for West River runs,
Yeah.
because each time they
So
dug
it's
that up, they
7 to
brushed
10
it.
feet. Okay, so it's wider than that.
And somebody
both
said that the other easement had possibly been vacated too. We don't know.
So is Ole also going to scrape up some of this clay over the garden area when he comes out with this topsoil, or?
He said he'd be willing to put black dirt, bring a dump truck of black dirt, and this was, and it's weird because it's warranty work from LSI. Because he wasn't available, and we had to get that fixed in mid-March.
March 12th.
So was LSI paying Ole
That's
to do
gonna be
this on?
between them.
Okay. So if they gotta wait until it's a little drier to bring in this black dirt and then grade that out and stuff like that, that's what you're looking for?
Yeah, and a possible timeframe so that I know,
Sure.
What I can expect when I can, think about planting grass and, getting
I'm
Yeah,
guessing,
I don't
I'm
know
guessing
what
then,
estimates out,
Yeah.
how long it's
I'm
gonna take
guessing,
for that to dry out.
the time frame is gonna be non-existent because we don't know if we go in there mid-summer, if we're gonna tear it up, because like Ryan said, how long does that water leak saturate that ground? For how many months?
Before it comes to the top.
You know,
And we had a couple of rains here the last 2 weeks. Everything you do, you just make it worse.
You know, the problem with the soil and that, you know, and like you said, the soil over there wasn't perfect, but, you know, before we dug, we did have grass.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
you know, but what happens now, you know, is with that all being exposed, you know, yeah, you'll get a rain, it gets muddy, and it turns to concrete, you know, when it dries up, you know, and you know, I don't know how to go about trying to, you know, get it cleaned up to the point of, you know, being able to get grass to grow back in there again.
I think if you bring it, you said you bring a dump truck full of black dirt, you know, good dirt. And if he takes his skidder, he can cover that back up, and he said that's the extent, he said that's what I'm willing to do. And then
I guess on this photo too, it looks like the whole thing is packed in, you know, it's been,
well, and so much water went through there,
Driven over.
under the snow, that it killed, you know, the neighbor's grass too, and the next neighbor's grass, and because it's that saturated and then froze on for, who knows how long.
Everybody else has grass except for in the 2.5 blocks. The grass isn't down with the other people.
No, I mean, no, obviously it doesn't look like that, but I mean, where that water went, you could see, you know, your back lot comes down like that, where that easement, where it was dumped onto the street, was hard on everybody.
Did Ole say when he'd be willing to bring that dirt over?
I've never talked to him.
Oh, Dick, okay, you did, Dave, you didn't either, okay.
Friday? When did you call on Thursday? And talk
called
to Dick?
Talked to Ole on Thursday.
Thursday is when
And
that,
called-
yeah,
when I
Ole
called.
called Dick, yeah.
And Ole did say, yeah, that, you know, he'd be willing, you know, or he asked me if I thought, you know, a truckload of black dirt would, you know, be enough to cover that area and clean it up. And it's like, I said, well, I don't know, you know, and so that's when I contacted you guys, the water department, you know, and the opinion that I got from Dick was that you guys were done. You know,
I know Ole talked to him, and he said, I'll bring a dump truck over black dirt and a skidder, and you saw it, I guess I didn't, did he have his track one or his wheel one?
he had a wheel.
it's still sitting back there.
No, that's his whole, no, a
Yeah.
skidder.
No, they didn't.
No, but when he's gonna come up, he's got a track and a wheel. Sometimes tracks they're a little harder when they turn, but if you're gentle, they're a little bit easier in their lawn because they displace so much weight. So we don't have those 4 wheels this far apart. You can tell you that's what happened this spring when Dick went up to try and push that dirt, the rest of that dry dirt into that hole. And as you went up there and you sink in like this, well, now you try and turn and you just end up wiggling around, making ruts all over the place.
Yeah, and, you know, at that time, you know, when they filled in that hole partially,
Yep.
you know, yeah, it was wet. I mean, that was
Yep.
still, you know, but. you
Cause they
know,
want to get your electrical service covered
Buried
up,
and
yeah, just
that. and
Casey, have you had a chance to go over and see this at all?
but the way it sounds to me though, I mean, is that we got a plan, you know, I mean, yeah, it's not gonna be done right now, but. So. I'd say
You drive,
especially.
yeah, you dig them. And
Maybe
then
we
you'll
just,
end up that-
as part of that plan, we just have Ole or somebody maybe from your guys' department checking it regularly to see when it seems reasonable to be able to get in there with the dump truck to dump that in there without tearing
And
it
we
all
can
to
get
crap.
ahold of Ole too and see if he's got a guess, I mean,
Yeah,
contractors are, that's why it's hard to get one in an emergency is because they got their months planned out. And they got jobs that they gotta do and they do emergency stuff.
Well, I agree with Casey. It sounds like there's a plan in place. It's just a matter of refining that plan to understand what kind of time frame and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the next conversation to occur, is when do you think
Yep.
is reasonable to be able to get over here and then share that information with everybody that's involved and we see how it pans out.
Unfortunately, that doesn't give you a timeline.
Clean it up to where,
No, cause I mean, I can show you pictures of my garden last year.
But,
I mean, it was huge, it was
We understand that.
great,
We understand.
yeah, it's not gonna
Now
get
it's
fixed
not.
overnight. I mean, if you want us to go in there tomorrow, we'll tear it up more. I mean,
oh, no, my whole yard is tore up. I mean, there's cracks all over it.
And then you said we provided you some grass seed in the past, but not enough, you said?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't enough seed there to barely get it covered, the first time. And as far as grass seed, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you can supply some, it's like, I'm gonna end up having to reseed it probably 2 or 3 times before it's gonna get, back to normal, But,
And do you normally water back there? You irrigate your yard at all, or do you just use the water for your garden?
We did
Because if
both.
you plant it, you're gonna have to keep it moist and.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did both.
yeah, and what I've got going back into the garden there is I've got an irrigation line that runs from the house back to the garden. And then my power from my shop runs from the house back to the shop. But, yeah, that spigot area in the garden, yeah, I've got, water from the house that I can, keep that, watered out. And we did, last year with, the dry summer that we had, we watered back there, and granted, it's not the best grass, but it was, it was still mowable, but.
Okay, well, it sounds like we have somewhat of a plan in place. I would stay in contact with the water department and Dave. And we need to get a hold of Ole, see what he can bring that over, and yeah, we don't want to go in there when it's soft yet and just compound the issue. So, and I apologize that it happened. It's out of everybody's control. Nobody wanted this to happen, obviously.
No.
And I don't think there was a perfect.
Unfortunately, I found the water leak last year and it's like,
Yeah. Well,
and.
glad you didn't before it got worse. Yeah. But it's, time of year and it's just inconvenient. I understand that for you and your garden. So we just can't do it fast enough for you, I'm afraid. So be patient with us.
That's right.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, so
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hope we get it taken care of.
I hope so.
9A, commercial building permit for Josh Meisner. Shannon?
Yeah, we approved his zoning change. I was thinking that we already did his building, but it wasn't safe. So we can let him put his commercial building out there on that parcel.
So there's no variance or anything like that, it's just the fact that it's commercial that we have to.
And then we do need to act on it.
Make a motion that we approve the application for the building permit for his commercial building.
Motion by Pillar,
second.
second by Hack. Discussion. Casey?
Well, I've had, I guess, residents near there notice that he's bringing in fill and stuff, and what they're worried about is, if he builds up his lot, is it gonna flood their, backyard?
You mean be on the other side of the creek?
Yeah,
When the water just go into the creek?
yeah, if it's not, yeah. You know, because in the past, when that was a low spot, you know, I guess the water would stay there, so I mean.
The spring,
Builds up
the
a lot.
spring, look at the water never sat there, and everything runs off into the creek now.
Oh, yeah,
So if it builds up,
But-
then it's just gonna continue to the creek, I'm assuming.
well, the block, though, you know, I mean,
And that water is controllable, so it's not like, his will put a little bit of dirt in there, we still control how much water goes in and out of there.
Dave, were
Where
you
it's
gonna give
putting it.
comment?
I don't ever remember water ever flooding.
No, not out
All
of
the
the
years
veins.
I worked in Melville.
Yeah,
I don't know if we had John look at it or not, but I don't know if that's,
Well, didn't we look at the elevations at that,
yeah,
and where
the
he's
zoning,
thinking of putting the
the
house?
zoning board, yeah, looked at the elevation.
That's out of the area that the
Yeah.
water would go to anyways. If it
Have you looked at it? What's your thought?
yeah, I mean, like Dave, I guess I've never had like seen,
We used to
Water.
put snow there. We used to pile a lot of snow there. Now we won't do anymore.
Last 3, 4 years, 5 years.
So a
I
little
would
bit.
think there'd be more concern if you had piles of snow there than what you might get from a downpour or something. If it built up a little bit for the shop there.
Yeah, I would too. We put a lot of snow over there.
Mhm.
Valid concern, but I don't think it's if those people approach you or us, I don't think that's an issue. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Pillar. Aye. Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. 9B, building permit variance for Ms. Bailey.
Yep. She wants to just she's got concrete steps on the front of her house right now, and she wants to run a wood deck 8 feet along the front with a step down, so that'll be 9 feet all the way around. The variance would be for 13 feet. Her house is currently 22 feet from the property line, 20-foot setback, so that only allows her 2 feet, so she'll need 7 feet to make room for the deck. I did check a couple of the neighbors. Her neighbors next door, directly next door, are both 13 and 14 feet from the property line. So she would be right along in there with them at the 13 feet. I guess that's explanatory. Any questions? So it's gonna be a flat deck with a step down.
And you said 13 feet is gonna be at?
Yeah, it's currently at 20.
13 feet from the sidewalk or
From the property line, and the property line is into her pond.
Then again,
So it'll be about 14 feet from the
Be
sidewalk.
14 from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
so a 7-foot variance.
Right. And then, like she said, my neighbors already got the same thing, so.
What street is this on again?
It's right next to Dan.
Dan Fry lives directly north of her.
It's
Oh,
on
okay,
Third
okay.
and
Yep,
Second.
Got it.
Third and third.
Wishes of the board.
move to approve the variance.
A motion by Stern, approved.
Second.
Second by Hack. Discussion?
so when we had a request for the front porch over at Zern's. And we had him do his steps over off of the side versus coming out. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to remember how close he was getting out to the sidewalk there. And we compromised, we went out to the side with the steps feeding off to the driveway to the
Mhm.
side there versus coming out towards the sidewalk. But there also, we had a variance.
Yeah, I mean, if she was putting a high deck with a whole row of steps,
Yeah, that's
That
what
would-
I'm thinking, is that they were getting much closer to
Before.
the sidewalk.
Right.
Yeah,
It was almost gonna be like right
right
on the
onto
side,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
like right beside the sidewalk.
And you're saying that this distance back from the sidewalk would be comparable to
The neighbor.
homes going all the way down that strip there?
7 feet, right? Off the sidewalk,
14 feet on the side.
or 14?
Yep.
14
I'm
feet
sorry.
off the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah.
That 13 from the property line, okay.
And it is gonna be low profile, you know, it's not like it's gonna have.
Yeah.
big
You want to have
radius.
6 steps down.
Yep, so
Right.
it's
Yeah,
it
just
is
one
a
little step.
course of a different color.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. More discussion? Roll call.
Stern.
Aye.
Hack.
I,
Miller.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. And 9C, building variance for Dillman's.
This is over by the walking path over by like Carter's and McConnell's over in that neck of the woods. His yard is quite small. He put a fence up to go around those electrical boxes. Did I give you a picture of the permit?
Yeah.
He drew such a detailed picture, it's there. So he's kind of limited on where he can put the shed. It is smaller than the 144 square feet, so the setback requirements are a little less. It should be 5 feet, but he wants to put it, what does he want to put it? 2 feet to the fence. And I drove by the area and it looks like some of the other neighbors' sheds are pretty close too, so they must have had approval. So that's what he's just requesting instead of the,
Yeah.
So we just did Ronzon's 2 weeks ago or 3
Yeah.
weeks ago.
yeah. And I think Ratchin, he's got one really close to his fence back there. And this is just gonna be a small one. He's gonna make it look like the house. It's gonna have siding and shingles and everything to match the house. He just wants to put it a little closer to the fence, so 3 foot easement or variance for that one. With 8 foot sidewalls.
we did approve the other ones if I recall.
Mm-hmm. We did.
That's a fence around there too.
Right, yeah, it's that private spots all the way around.
I make a motion we approve.
Motion by Hack,
I'll second that.
second by Pillar. Discussion. Roll call.
Hack.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. 9D, so this is to take action from the public hearing on the condemnation of the Knight property on 1025 First Avenue Northeast. So this is where we basically make a motion to proceed. Pat, is that what we're,
Yeah, I think you should just, review your reasoning why you're going to make the decision that you made.
Okay.
Well, Clearly, we've had a couple of parties deem the property beyond.
and we've tried to work with the homeowner to have the process, be less costly for them too, and they've not responded to any of our requests. And we've done what we can, and since they're not willing to be involved, this process will now take place this way.
So the next step is there would be demolition by the city or somebody that they choose, and then it would be back billed then to the homeowner.
I
The
did
property owner?
contact that salvaging company that Custer Health had told me about earlier.
Yes.
He really had no interest in it. He likes doing more cars. I asked him how we could do. He said just move it ourselves. So I contacted Candy. She said if we could get it out there in one piece,
Candy at the landfill.
yes.
Yeah.
$200 for us to take it to the landfill, so keep it out there. We
Yeah,
have to
what-
take the,
What if we can't get it out in one piece?
Well, we're not gonna be able to get it out in one piece. There's no way, is there, Dave? That thing's so,
she does
I
have
think
wheels.
Ryan and Dick said the last time they've been under there or something with the water meter that actually a lot of the subfloor or flooring of the house is actually Glass falling down through the axles and stuff, so I'm not
I just
exactly
guess
sure.
He walked around in there.
All the guys in the toilet, I'm thinking it's gonna come apart.
Well, I guess we could try.
Yeah, and if that's the case, we pay by the weight. We take our machines, our guys would do it and just crush it up and haul the pieces and parts off to the landfill, and then we just pay by the ton we take it out there.
Yeah, I'm having that little house torn down by me as we speak, and Tim's charging me to do that, to haul it out to the landfill and it's by the tonnage. And it would be way more expensive to have Tim do it for us than to have our own, but, you know, do we have the equipment? You know, Tim's got his track hoe with a, you know, grapple, yeah. Yeah, we would really, you know, with our payloader, we'd have to have something pushed into the bucket. We got the grapple on our payloader bucket too, I guess, but.
Clamshell.
Clamshell.
That doesn't really pinch or grab much on, like I say, a fixed structure.
So
Well,
with us
smash
paying
it
by the
down.
ton, does that have to be separated in any way? Or can we,
It's inert matter and Tim's not separating my stuff.
And same with all their personal belongings inside, I mean, it's,
so basically the only thing that's separated is when you get pretty much to the frame.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, that would
the
be
steel.
like
Yeah,
just a chassis.
she gets out there, she usually just knocks the top off the frame and that gets.
Mr. Seiler, you got some experience?
Unfortunately, I do. You just have to remove, when you get out there, you have to remove the refrigerator, anything with freon, stuff
Yep.
like that, make
Yeah,
sure
with
that's
a
not
charge
in there,
around too.
and push the rest into the pile. That's basically it.
Yeah, and as for the appliances, she did tell me about that too, that, but then, like Monty and I were talking, we would just take those out ourselves,
Yeah.
not have to deal with that. But I don't know all about his personal stuff in there. Do
Well, we
give
let them
another-
know, you know, and here's, the reality is, we're not doing this next week.
Right,
You know, Dave's guys, we're, through the end of this month, they are booked solid with, you know, plenty of things going on. That might be something that's done in mid-June. And we let the Knights know, if you want anything out of there, it's coming down June 15th.
this is the day.
You know, maybe that's the day, what we do, Dave, we give them a definitive date and say, if you want it out, take it out. Other than that, it's gonna be put in the pile.
Guys gonna have to get the skirting and stuff open, see if there's even axles and tires under it.
Candy does have tires, if we can hold it, she will have some tires.
Okay.
Mess with that.
Boy, dragging that down the road, how much crap are we gonna have between here and the landfill?
Yeah.
Figure you guys a week of Sundays to clean up the ditches between. I don't even think we tried to, I think we just tear it down, try to crush it up as much as possible. I don't know. We rent a track hoe from Mandate.
Oh, and knock it up. I guess big thing, get the skirting off of it.
Okay.
And then start jacking it up, see what it does.
Okay.
See if it hangs together or.
If you'd look at that, and then let's give them a date. I think that's fair, don't you guys? If we say it's, here's the date in June, where it's, otherwise it's gonna be,
June 15th.
Underneath this toast?
Oh.
That's a
She
Saturday,
had a
so-
water leak.
they have until June 14th, and then
14th.
we're tearing it down on the
Pretty
17th.
serious water leak. Underneath there is so saturated, I crawled under there to look at her meter, make sure her meter was still working, and we couldn't get read, we couldn't get anything. And after I pushed like 6 dead cats out of the way to get to her water meter, you could look up and look into her trailer.
So basically, what you're saying is don't waste our time trying to jack it up and see if we can get wheels on
I
it.
think if we could get the skirt and let it dry, it's still wet, I bet dollars to go, that's just mud over there. And it can.
I would just say if we make this motion to proceed forward, I wouldn't spend a lot of time trying to jack it up and put wheels and tires on it.
There's an entryway on it that'll have to get tore off.
Oh, yeah,
Even
that's
if that- even if the guy's gonna jack it up
That
the
shed
road,
that's behind
the
it.
entry would have to come
I
off
was
there
afraid
just
you
to
would go
go
in there.
off the lot.
I'd say if we give them a letter saying that that house is being torn down on the 17th of June, that's a Monday. Pat, is that,
I don't think you have to give them much time. They've been told for the last 6 months.
But maybe they never
Well,
believe
that time may simply be to
If you
accommodate
say
our own.
any time after May
Yeah.
31,
It could be, come June 1, it could be torn down any day without any notification.
anytime after, okay.
May 31st,
Okay, May 31st is
or
that.
May 30th. No,
Is that-
31st.
That's your motion?
Jerry,
Is it the 31st?
Yes, Dave.
could a guy check like with Terry Falsing, see what he would charge to lift that and throw it out? He does have, he does have house moving equipment.
Yep, why don't you do that?
Or if he would lift it up and even sit it on his house moving dollies.
But it
See
needs
what
to,
he would
if he
charge.
does that, it needs to be out of the city limits, not just jacked up, moved in his, out in the street.
But I mean, he's got the big jacks, I mean, the lift, he could maybe put it on his house moving dollies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Get a
He's got-
price from him
yeah.
at least.
Yeah,
It's too soon, Jerry. Too soon.
I know, yeah. That,
I think your motion could just be that you're gonna, because of the reasons you've expressed, that you are condemning the property, it will be destroyed, and the process will be decided upon by the city.
Public Works Superintendent.
Well, Monty, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Hack.
Oh, yeah, well, then I'll second that one.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Miller. Aye. Hack.
I,
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
All right, motion carried, thank you. Reports, water, sewer, garbage. Nope,
Not anything this time.
thank you. Streets, cemetery,
other than we started cleanup this week for citywide, don't have any, I know I talked to Dave, we received all of the tractor, all the attachments. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Dave has messed around with our mower, and in the time he fiddled around wherever he mowed, it was like,
I cut it down way over half.
Yeah. Just the Highway 200 ditches.
Ryan has gone out and used the land plane and did the road going out to lift station 1 and it was
At standard base, and there was ruts, and there's somebody went in and sprayed and kind of went up on the railroad berm, and there's ruts way deeper than that. I went like this, and I went over it, up, down, and it
So
did
yeah, I
good.
think,
good.
And we did finish up the crack sealing,
yes.
got all the chip seal streets done and the milled and reconstructed streets, and we're all done, plus all the city parking lots are done.
That's all I have.
Monty, anything for busing finance other than what we have?
That's be down in front.
Police, fire, forestry.
Did we get all that cement work and stuff done around the fire hall there? On the north side, that slab and everything?
I haven't been on the fire department for 10 years.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So,
It's always done. Come on,
Yeah,
Al.
they were getting the work taken care of over by the fire hall. And so, I think I had conversation, but I wasn't sure if it was completely done or if they were having somebody come back and take a look at it a little bit more. But they're proceeding forward with what they had asked for. And so things are taking shape over there. And then we'll talk on Arbor Day down below. I did have a conversation with Mike the other day. He had ordered up trees for Arbor Day, and we, in lieu of going through soil and water conservation, ended up going with the folks over there in Beulah. Got some larger trees than just the sticks and stuff that you get from soil and water conservation for about the same dollars.
Oh, from High Plains.
Yep.
yeah, I have Lane's concept.
And so he's bare root trees. He's gonna have all of those brought over and put into the gravel and stuff like that. And then he was working on getting the boulevard trees as well. He was basically continuing the path that John had been going down with recommendations from our state forester on some replacement varieties of trees. That's it.
Great, thank you, man. I've got nothing under mine for it. And did Buster have anything, even though, much? Okay. All right. 11A, 101 things to do circular. And you can see, where's mine at?
The annual circular by BHG goes into all the new area newspapers and stuff. We've done quarter page full color ads the last several years. Cost according to their price sheet is $210 for the same size full color ad this year.
Okay.
And she did say she would update the pictures from what was used last year.
All right. Okay, we'll do that. We'll put that in there, we need a motion.
Yep.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Hack,
Second.
second by Casey. Discussion. Roll call.
Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Hiller. Aye. Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Request for duplicate warrant for Sutton Construction.
This is for work done way back in 2017. That check has never come through the bank. Checked with their office manager at Sletton. He said he has no record of it, so they are requesting a duplicate. So moved.
Motion by Pillar,
Second.
second by Hack. Discussion. Roll call.
Pillar. Aye. Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, 2020 transit grant. We all had a copy of that also.
We've discussed it a few times. We've already approved the resolution allowing me to sign it. Wanted to bring it to you for your final approval. The amounts we're requesting are there on the last page: $227,511 for operating, $14,314 for administrative. 50-50 on the operating, 80-20 on the administrative. I wish I could put more stuff into administrative, but I can't.
Yeah.
Same percentage offset as I was before.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
Motion by Hack to approve,
Second.
second by Pillar. Discussion. Roll call.
Hack.
Aye.
Pillar. Aye. Stern.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. New business, 13A, spraying quotes.
Sent letters to all the area sprayers via email or US Postal. Only received one back from Don Walensky. He has done the spraying for the last several years for the city on the bigger areas, the park, Heritage Park, around the PD, fire department, library, those types of places, and the lagoon. His quote is actually a little bit less than last year, so I don't know what's going on.
So the only thing we need to add on is the spraying across.
Yeah, and that we would do separate if our guys can't handle that.
Yeah, that's right.
To the berm over on the parking lot. To
Yeah.
get that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the award to Mr. Valensky.
Yeah, we have a motion by Pillar to award to Mr. Bolesky.
Second.
Second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Pillar. Aye. Stern.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. 13B, network and surveillance upgrades.
Talked to Jerry about this a couple of times, adding another camera into the large hall. We have one in the small hall. And then to extend network to the shop from the bus barn, it would just be an antenna on the bus barn over to the shop. Then they would have internet access, and we could actually put a camera out front to see who dropped off appliances this morning because they didn't want to get charged for them.
Oh, really? How many did we get of
They
those?
still were nice enough and put it in the motor bucket for us.
Really?
Was it a fridge or freezer?
Total cost, they estimated $1720 2020, we can save some of those costs. I did find a different PoE switch for about $35 compared to $210. And if we run the wiring, purchase the wiring and run most of it ourselves, we can save most of that labor, or a lot of that labor cost as well.
So then the motion here would just be approve the installation of this here.
Not to exceed that price would be best bet.
Okay.
So then I guess, I read the notes, Wi-Fi then in the shop, is that what it said?
Yeah, we would then put a computer in there so they could actually access, if they're looking for parts or manuals or whatever, updates on equipment and stuff right from the shop. Eventually, it would be nice to actually use it for timekeeping as well.
So there's no,
What do they do for timekeeping and stuff now? Bring it back over
It's
here?
all handwritten and approved, I believe. Yeah, there's nothing out there.
there's nothing out there now? Okay. So would it be better to get internet, I guess, service in the shop there instead of like bringing it over? Is that what you're talking about?
Actually, they could trench wire, but they said since it's so close, we have Wi-Fi in the bus barn. All we need to do is put an antenna on the barn and a receiver on the shop, and it'll work just like we had at hardware.
A lot cheaper.
Okay.
And then actually the shop won't get charged for it unless we separate it.
Okay, yeah.
We'll keep it under the administrative for busing.
It would be a handy view like when we got those, like that land plane and some of that stuff we were looking up and we didn't have a manual for it. I actually went back to the water plant and found it in a couple of seconds on their website, and it was 50 pages, so I didn't print it out. But I said, I found the manual, went back to the shop, and then we got it adjusted from what I had read, and I said, well, that'd be kind of nice to be able to sit there and look there, you look up a part number or something, and you gotta go to the app and ask them, just to do it right there.
Good idea.
Make a motion to approve and not to exceed the total of whatever that says.
1720.
Okay, 1720.
Okay, motion by Hack, second by Stern, discussion. Roll call.
Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Pillar.
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. Arbor Day 2019 proclamation, you can see that, Hunters, right there. And it's basically the same thing we've been doing for previous years.
Just change a couple.
Updated, change a couple things, yeah.
This is a weekday, right? On the 29th?
This is actually a Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yes.
And we have been doing it during the day like that, and I know I came over last year, or the year before when we did it, and there's no lack of people coming to get free
No.
trees, even though it's during the daytime.
So the discussion was actually to do it from like 4 till 7 in the
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than what we did before.
Yeah, and we've
So
done
that'll
Saturday
probably-
mornings before too.
That'll open up opportunity then for people that work.
Is that a motion to approve, Mr. Billy?
Yes.
Yep, motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Jason. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And 13D, Census 2020. Monty,
Recently, at the League of Cities conference in March, there was a lot of discussion about the Census 2020. Basically, for every person that isn't counted in your jurisdiction in the census costs the city $1,910 per year. And since it's a decennial census, you can lose up to $19,000 per person that isn't counted. By creating the complete count committee will help basically marketing and encouraging people to complete the census. It doesn't require us to hire workers, or it's basically a volunteer committee that'll work with the Census Bureau to do marketing materials and put it on our website, those types of things. I do have a meeting set up to get more information. with the representative from the Census Bureau, and the emergency manager from the county was going to attend as well.
So this would be a group of volunteers?
Yes. And a lot of them are formed with business leaders, school leaders, those types of things, just to try and get the word out.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to take action, fine. If not, I can bring more information back after our formation meeting.
No, let's do it now. You do need a motion though to,
Yeah,
to
to approve the resolution.
approve the resolution, okay.
So,
Okay, motion by Hack to approve the resolution for the 2020 census committee.
Second.
Second by Stern. Discussion.
So then Monty, I guess this information, yeah, I know in the past I've heard like people say, well, I don't want anyone to know who's all here, you know, so then maybe just say, it's just me, you know. So what's this information all like used for, I guess?
Well, the only thing required of the census is for this location, how many people are in there? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 20?
Yeah.
Anything else is basically voluntary, is my understanding on the questions on the census. So our marketing would be to say, just fill it out. Most people are just gonna get a simple card saying how many people are at this residence. There will be a couple other questions. Probably, are you a citizen? But yeah, our goal will be to just get everybody to at least complete the card saying how many people are there.
And that's the difference between the money or no money.
Yeah.
Is just having them do the bare minimum.
Right. And I think that's kind of where the marketing will be geared. If you're not counted, the city loses this much. That means you have to pay more. You know, these are federal dollars. Yeah, you're paying for them roundabout, but at least it's not coming directly from your city taxes.
So it's not asking specifics, like, we want the social security number of everybody that's this household and, yeah.
No, but the census is
Age,
basically
sex.
just a count of people.
Any other discussion, questions? Roll call.
Hack. Stern. Pillar. Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, any new bills that need to go on here, Monty, or?
They laid the sheet on the desk, you should have all the bills now.
Okay.
You'll notice the bill in there for materials testing. They did come down and do the asbestos testing on the property we bought, and none was discovered.
So what's, Dave, what's the timeline? Have you talked to about this little house over here? The fire department is gonna do some drills in there, apparently.
Yeah, they trained in it once already.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they enjoyed it, they said they want to do it again.
okay.
I'll find out how soon they wanna get back in there, or can get back in there.
So I'm assuming by the end of the summer, we'd like to get that thing torn down,
Oh yeah, I think even before the end of the summer.
torn down, backfilled, and I'm assuming we're gonna put that lot up for sale. So I've had people contact me that are interested in wanting just the garage space, and I'm like, well, it's gonna be, most likely it's gonna be one parcel, the whole thing, so.
So then Monty, got a couple questions. So, there's a light pole that got hit while they were moving snow.
Yeah, and I did turn that into insurance, but I haven't
Okay.
heard back yet
Okay.
where it's at in the claim process. But yeah, there was one, was backed into with one of the trucks when you couldn't see very well.
Okay. And then on the engineering end, what's I guess a work order like cast one?
That was our general engineering stuff, just when we contracted with them, these little questions, I think, well, he didn't charge us mileage for this manhole stuff, the sewer stuff, but he did charge for making the plans and those types of things. That's where it just comes out of our general engineering budget then. The 40,000 that we budget for annual engineering. They've been really good about, you know, if they're coming by or whatever, they will tack on mileage for those types of things. So. And if they, eventually they'll be billing, you know, for their meeting time. If it's not related directly to the project, then you build under the task order number 1, the general engineering.
Any other questions for Monty on the bills?
Motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Pillar,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion? Roll call.
Pillar. Aye. Stern.
Aye.
Hack.
I
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried, meeting adjourned. And I would